What does it mean to honor a debt? Of course, when it's money, the answer is simple. You restore the money that you borrowed plus any agreed interest or fees. It's a little more complicated when you are talking about pretty much anything else. After we lost our son, I was in a pretty bad way mentally and financially. My neighbor hired me to paint his fence. We agreed on a price and a day. Then my other son got sick the day I was scheduled to paint the fence. I finished painting the fence a few days later. He paid me the agreed price. It was nice to get the money when I needed it. If you think it's clear whether we're even, then you haven't put much thought into it. It doesn't matter if you're convinced we're even or if you're convinced we're not. The more certain you are, the less thought I think you've put into it. Then there are things that get even more complicated. When I was trying to get back on my feet after my daughter was born, I was working for G. Loomis Manufacturing fishing rods. One year at Christmas, my coworkers took up a special collection and gave me a $100 gift card. The timing was just when we needed it. It wasn't the only thing that got us back on our feet, but it was one of the things that made a big difference, and a lot of it was the timing. We were so close to breaking out of debt, and it was Christmas. $100 isn't much compared to the debt we had a few months earlier, but the timing was just when we needed it. What do I owe them? 7 years of hard labor? Done. Not that hard, actually, but you know what I mean. But what if they called me again tomorrow, asking me to help out with something? Would the fact that they were there for me in my time if need suggest that I need to do my best to do right by them, even though I haven't worked for them in years? Here's another. What if my neighbor and my former employer both needed me at the same time? In this movie, John Wick is presented with a medallion that represents his debt. That debt is called in to enlist his services doing what he does best: lots and lots of violence. It always surprises me when Christians are conflicted by these circumstances. John Wick has tried to turn over a new leaf. He's tried to put violence behind him. Now he's presented with a sign that he owes someone, and the payment is violence. What does he do? The greater debt overrules the lesser debt. If my neighbor and my former employer both called in their debt at the same time, it would be my former employer that got the day. But if they asked me to be violent, I would have to refuse because of my highest debt. One aspect of classical theism is our universal, eternal debt to God. Classically, this gets explained in terms of our creation. God made us, He gave us everything we have. Even if we were to try to repay Him, it would be by asking Him for more things to give back to Him. It's a very simple set of propositions, and I'm behind it. But classical for me, I've said that even if the God of the moral argument didn't make us, it's still the God I would serve and worship. So I think it's fair to ask, would I still owe an infinite debt to the God of the moral argument even if the process of creation was something unrelated? I think it can. If the moral argument really does describe God, it means that every good deed that has ever been done to us or that we have ever done comes from God. We owe God not only for the good that's been done to us, but also for the ability to do good at all. This may not be the only solution to the problem, though. I would love to hear from you any other solutions you might have to this thought.